Silver are the ultimate tangible asset in our world. They may not be the most liquid, but they're the most secure as an asset. So you have a tremendous amount of money that trades every day in equities and bonds and currencies and in cryptocurrencies, uh, but they're not as secure as gold and silver. And it's funny because there's perceived security and there's real security. Depending on how you're holding and storing your physical gold and silver, you can have very high real security.
Silver lining in radical times with Monex and CPM Group.
Physical metal versus ETFs. You did a great piece for us several years ago now. It was called Ownership versus Promises. And we still have it today. We still distribute it today. People that want to call in and get that report. It hasn't lost value. It's still just as timely today. I love it. It's one of my favorite pieces we've ever done with you guys. But one of the questions that kind of comes up a lot with ETFs and investing in the ETF silver gold ETFs compared to buying physical is when people really want their hands on that physical is being able to take delivery of physical metal off of the ETF. Is that even really possible?
There are a couple ETFs where you can say, I want to close out my position and I want metal. But most ETFs don't allow that. So you have two transactions. You sell the shares in the ETF and then you buy physical metal in a separate transaction, usually with a separate company. Because the ETFs are equities, they're shares. And a lot of equity brokers do not deal with physical metal. So you have to, and I think that, the value for some investors with ETFs is, oh, I have a brokerage account. I can go online and I can buy ETFs and I can buy my exposure to rising gold or silver prices immediately. But if I want physical metal, I have to have an account with a company like Monex. Yeah. And a lot of people unfortunately don't do that. And it's very bizarre that they don't, but that's the way it is. So they'll say, we'll have people who are relatively sophisticated investors, maybe, who will say, I'm not comfortable having ETFs. All I'm buying with an ETF, I'm buying a share that has exposure to the price. I want direct ownership of the physical metal. How do I do that?
Another issue that comes up is liquidity, it was back in the day. I mean, you think about off balance sheet asset, tangible, physical metal that is really liquid anywhere you go in the world. Great story for physical gold and silver. And now you've got this digital age that's come along and they look at, liquidity based on being digital is kind of an area where a lot of money is attracted to right now um, is gold and silver still that ultimate liquid asset in our current digital world?
Silver are the ultimate tangible asset in our world. They may not be the most liquid, but they're the most secure as an asset. So you have a tremendous amount of money that trades every day in equities and bonds and currencies and in cryptocurrencies, but they're not as secure as gold and silver. And it's funny because there's perceived security and there's real security. Depending on how you're holding and storing your physical gold and silver, you can have very high real security. There are a lot of companies that we don't do business with, and we tell people you should never do business with them, or they'll come to us and they say, I want to use CPM Group as an advisor. I have my metal at the XYZ place. And we say, okay, first thing we do is we get your metal out of there because you don't have real security. You might, there. So there are people then consequently who feel that there's a low perceived security in gold and silver, but there's a high real security. And the flip side is with well, the ultimate is cryptocurrencies. There's absolutely no security on a real basis with cryptocurrencies. And, the volatility from day to day and month to month is 50 to 100%. In the Bitcoin's monthly volatility is 50 to 100%. One month you might double your thing, and the next month you might lose it all. And that's the most liquid one. You go into these other things, and it's just onion skin after onion skin, and you don't have any real security. They may be very liquid, but there's no tangibility and there's no security on a real basis.
I remind people, just look up third-party risk. Nothing wrong with holding that metal on your person with where you're at. We'll deliver it to your door. You keep it where you want to, and it's nobody else's problem but yours, right?